going on, Full Heel Podcast? I am your host, Donkeytron. That is my gamer tag on Xbox Live. My name is Rafael Chaidez. Who you're hearing right now is a rewrite, so if you want to go ahead and check them out, that is Lightning Dance on the French Summer EP. You can go ahead and check them out on SoundCloud, YouTube, all that good stuff. If you're in the Chicagoland area, they're performing tomorrow at Simone's for Battle of the Bands, I believe it is. Might check that out. So if you're in the Chicagoland area, check out Simone's. Or if you're looking for information on that, go ahead and check out the rewrites on Facebook or Twitter. Yeah, all that good stuff. Shout out to the rewrites for letting me use their music and for helping me out with the podcast. I want to introduce my guest, Ryan. What's going on, Ryan?
Well, since we're doing WCW, it should be Flying Ryan, right?
Yeah, Flying Ryan.
Flying Ryan, just because we're going to the old school WCW days. So
yeah. Bash at the Beach '95. That's what we're going to be covering today. This is going to be a good one because I knew a little bit about it, but this is before I transferred over to WCW. When I grew up, I was introduced to the WWF from Hogan to Macho Man. That's what I was seeing as a kid. But then what really got me into it was the 1, 2, 3 Kid versus Razor Ramon. Razor Ramon became my favorite wrestler, even though he lost. He was just a badass. So, I think he turned face after that once he lost to the 1, 2, 3 Kid.
Yeah, he became the good guy.
Yeah, so that was my favorite wrestler growing up. When his contract came up and he went over to WCW, that's when I jumped over too. My cousin's favorite wrestler was Kevin Nash at the time. Whenever we would play video games, that's who he would pick. I would pick Razor Ramon. He would pick Kevin Nash. And when they, it was Diesel and Razor Ramon at that time. When they moved over, I was like, oh, what characters are they? What characters are they? Because I didn't know them by their real names, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah, that was an NWO versus WCW World Tour where you got to pick them with sunglasses, jeans, and the NWO shirt.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, this pay-per-view kind of, I like going back and watching these because it's getting my timelines and it's getting my wrestling timeline in order. And it was good to see what Hogan was up to in the WCW while I was watching the WWF.
Yeah, I liked it too because I was always WWF the whole way through until maybe mid '97
Call me a flip-flop
or so, and that's when I kind of got a little bits of Nitro here and there, but still I didn't get enough to really follow WCW. I could see like maybe 2 Monday Nitros a month. So kind of like filling in the blanks is really, really hard. But going back and being able to see some of these old pay-per-views is really fun because you get to see like still it is Hulk Hogan, it is Macho Man, but they're not in WWF, they're in WCW, which is weird. Yeah, it's so weird. Like some of it is just like I don't know, like I don't like Hogan in WCW. I like Hollywood Hogan in WCW. Like for some reason I'm just so used to Hollywood, not Hulk. Mm-hmm. But yeah, seeing all these other different characters, like I didn't realize that Harlem Heat had been around from '95, even before that. So that's kind of cool. Like I saw a lot of talent that I wasn't aware of being there at that time.
And
like you said, filling in timelines.
I'm guessing that's why they were tag champions for 10 times over, just because they were so popular beforehand, before they were feuding with the NWO. Because as I mentioned in one of our, or it might have been with Jeff or with Jesus, because we were doing WWE. Or it might have been here when they were inducted into the Hall of Fame that we talked about them. But I always liked Harlem Heat, but they were rivals to two of my favorite wrestlers. So it kind of sucked. But after growing up and then going back and looking at this, you appreciate what they were and what a good tag team. And how good fucking Booker T is, and the reason why they put the title on him so many times. 5 time.
Yeah, it was cool to go back and see because like seeing him in tag team action. Like I remember playing World Tour and Revenge, and I would always pick Harlem Heat because I loved them from the era that I was watching him. Yeah, going back and seeing him developing still more and more because he was still, I'm guessing he was still pretty new to WCW at that time, like maybe 3 years in at that point. Maybe I'm not 100% sure when he would have went to WCW, but he still like he looked really athletic but still raw in some ways, which is really cool to see. Like you was seeing the talent develop, and even like DDP, seeing
Yeah,
that
yeah,
we're seeing how he got his start and that kind of stuff was it's really awesome to go back and check those things out.
yeah. Because he was still coming out with the Diamond Doll, and at this time he had Max Muscle too with him
Yeah,
as
Max Muscle.
yeah. So it was kind of you get to see the origins of some of these guys. I got to learn a lot too, because I only had touched on the Dungeon of Doom, and I had only seen them from their exit and kind of their demise. I didn't really know how big they were and what kind of role they played in Hogan's rise within the WCW. It was
Yeah,
yeah, for people that don't know, I guess we'll get into it. But it was pretty much just a recreation of Hogan's rivals from the WWF. It was just trying to be a recreation in the WCW to try to get Hogan over because his popularity had dipped so much by this point already. People were done with Hollywood Hogan. WWF was producing a better product, and then WCW was like, "Fuck it, we need these old guys," and they started taking them. So
yeah,
Hogan going to the WCW kind of was like, "Hey, why don't we just do the same thing that got me over in WWF?" Showing you how much control WCW had given to Hogan right off the bat, and you could kind of see it throughout the rise and fall of WCW. Just giving too much control to one talent and one guy.
yeah.
Just too much power.
Yeah, he tried to take that old formula of look, this works this way. Like you said, like having like a group of bad guys always trying to get him, and then he always perseveres. Instead of like the Heenan family, now it was the Taskmaster and the Dungeon of Doom, and then you'd even see it in the NWO where he was like, okay, now I'm going to be the bad guy, and you're going to have a group of the good guys trying to stop me, but I'm always going to persevere one way or another.
Hmm.
But now it's going to be dirty tactics, and yeah, like you said, like you definitely see how giving one person too much power in creative can really bring a company down. And so,
I want to go back and see a lot of these origins, and I think I'm going to go back and maybe I'll just start covering them. Which I was before. I think I did a brief history one time too of how the NWA broke up into the AWA and
mm,
all that stuff. And I
right.
think the network has AWA and very old beginning. I think it goes up to 92 maybe or 91 for me for WCW. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I need to go back and watch whatever content they have just so I can. I know the names and I know storylines, but I need to go back and I need to know for myself. I was too young to retain any of that information, and that's why it's awesome going back and watching this. At that time, I was only watching WWF. Going back and watching this was fucking awesome.
Yeah, like I remember going to like the video store and you'd see all the pay per views and you'd see WWF and WCW. So I was like, I remember seeing a lot of these video covers, just never watching them. So yeah, it's fun to see like different gimmicks. Um, Even the pay per view gimmick in a weird way, like having the bash at the beach at an actual beach.
Yeah, dude, I forgot I was about to say it was at a fucking beach, and I don't know how much of a success it was and how much of a hit they took. Didn't look that packed compared to a stadium or something.
I saw that they did. This one here supposedly had 9,600, and I think it's 2 years later when Malone and DDP take on Hogan and Rodman. They only do like 10,000, so it's only like an extra couple hundred people or so. Hey, buddy, how you doing?
That's crazy.
Bye.
Cause
But I feel like what they did though was they had big chunks of the beach probably like cordoned off, and like they maybe sold tickets
mm-hmm.
or just like counted people coming in, and then they always inflate the number to make it look a little bit better.
Yeah,
Because yeah, like you said, like when I saw the number for the pay per view and then I watched it, and I was like, that doesn't look like that. And there was like one side seemed to be like almost barren, and the other side was just really packed. And I don't know, like
yeah. And then there was no bleachers, so everyone was at is that level? No, you had a
yeah,
like
yeah.
how good was your like how good could you see at a certain point?
And some of they had like jumbo screens or anything like elevated for you to watch. Like you could only really
Yeah.
go by what you could see. Like
Yeah, so I don't think that number was real. I think that number was fucking made up.
especially when you see like some of those aerial views and
Yeah,
how
when I
they're,
saw the aerial views, I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, there's way more people in the stadium than I'm seeing right
yeah.
now. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
I think that it could be one of those things where they're like the beach capacity in this area is this much, and they're like, okay, we'll book it off and say that's how many people were there, and probably including talent and bookers and ring crew people, just count everybody that they can to get that number seeming to be bigger.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I don't know how much of a success it was. I like the pay per view, and if you like old school pay per views, this is definitely one to go back and watch.
I think they did, and I might be wrong because I've only seen this one, and then like I feel like the later one, Bash of the Beaches that I saw, they were all in arenas.
Yeah,
But
that's
I
why I was confused
but
because
I
like,
feel like Eric Bischoff has. I feel like on his podcast, he talked something about uh, doing it a couple of years in a row because when he was trying to bring them up
mhm.
to compete with WWF, he was trying every gimmick possible, and if it worked one year, he would do it the next and do it the next until they were big enough that they could say, okay, you know what, Bash at the Beach, we're going to bring the beach indoors.
Bash at the Beach is memorable to me, not so much because of the beach. That is actually very memorable, but to me, it's memorable for the NWO forming. That's when Hogan
Yeah,
came out. Like exactly a year later, the company takes a whole different turn, and
yeah.
they start taking from ECW, and WWE starts taking from ECW, and they become the Attitude Era, and these guys just go more into a hardcore slash cruiserweight wrestling era because you don't see I don't there was no cruiserweights on this unless they were in the pre-show.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing
Mm-mm.
really anyone that
No.
would have been like they were all pretty much like your main card like guy like or your sorry your heavier main card guys like you're the ones that are gonna be holding the U.S. titles and the TV titles and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And
I don't even think the cruise was there may have not even been a cruiserweight division at this point in WCW.
you might be right. I don't know
I don't
when the cruiserweight division would have been started in WCW.
because I want to say like in '96 they would have had something going on with Rey Mysterio and Eddie, but they could have, like you said, they could have easily been in Mexico, Japan, and ECW at that time.
Yeah, there were WCW rated ECW for their talent, and a year later the we have Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero, or that might be '97. I may be mistaken, but it might be Dean Malenko versus Rey Mysterio, or it's definitely started off with a cruiserweight match.
Right.
Started off in '91. Oh no, it's WWE Cruiserweight Championship.
Didn't even know they had one back then.
Yeah, me neither. Let's see. I don't want to know about the WWE. I want the WCW.
I want to say someone like Dean Malenko probably would have got the title, like someone like him when he first came over, and then they had when they started getting a lot of the Mexican influence.
It says Reigns defeated Richard Morton in a tournament. I hope. Do you think it was Roman Reigns in a tournament final to become the first WCW light heavyweight
Only
champion?
only way Roman Reigns is going to be a lightweight or cruiserweight champion is if he was fighting when he was 10. He's
Oh shit! This doesn't count. The light heavyweights reigns aren't part of the cruiserweights title history.
oh,
Or wait,
so they would
that might
change
just be
things
for
over.
WWE. That might just be for WWE. So these guys might have gotten it in 2000 or no, sorry 91. That's what I'm seeing. Or, yeah, they're just giving me WWE now. I want WWE. Yeah, but no, there was no cruiserweight talent on here. You know why it's not coming up? Because I'm looking for it as the lightweight instead of the cruiserweight.
Uh, See, I have, yeah, the Cruiserweight Championship started in '96. So they had a light heavyweight from '91 to '92. Then they had 4 years off before they brought in the Cruiserweights in '96. So Brian Pillman was the first champion before they got rid of it. And then Shinjiro Otani won. He beat Pegasus to become the first Cruiserweight champion.
Pegasus as Chris Benoit?
I'm thinking, yeah, I'm wondering if because that's the only Pegasus that I know, and that
Yeah.
would have been around the time that he would have went to WCW.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Cool.
So yeah, so there's not even a cruiserweight division yet. So next year is when they'll start coming out. It looks like.
I wonder how early it was because I know by October next year they already had it. Um, let's see. Do you want to get into it then?
Yeah, sure.
Let's see. So there was 3 before matches, but I didn't get to see him, and you didn't get to see him.
I don't get to see a lot of WCW as I told you last week.
Yeah, you were telling me that.
Yeah, like I have I mean I could be wrong, but I feel like the way that everyone talks about it is that there's a lot more pay-per-views to go back and see. But I think it's like 19 WCW pay-per-views, and they seem to be from like that 95 to like 97, like the main ones, and then a couple in like 2000. But there's like no Starcade, no World War Threes, like all those good ones in that.
Yeah, you were saying
No Super
Starcade's good.
Bowl. Yeah, so I don't know if it's just like because of Canadian content rules and stuff like that, but I got so excited to talk WCW and I was like, oh, let's see what we have. I'm like, all right, not much.
Well, we got lucky with. Well, not lucky, but it
We
was a
got some
good.
good ones though.
This one was a good one to choose from. So
Yeah.
after the first 3, so the 4th match on the card, we had Sting. I think U.S. champion taking on Meng with manager Cole Robert Parker. I don't know who his manager was at all. Some guy in a
He
fucking suit and cowboy hat.
he was, I think, Colonel Robert Parker was Austin's manager for a while in WCW, and I think he was with Harlem Heat before Sister Sherry joined them.
Okay.
Because Harlem Heat had a gimmick. Look at this. Apparently, I did know about Harlem Heat. They had a gimmick where they would come out in chains, and I think it was Colonel Robert Parker was their guy. And all of a sudden, everyone was like, "You can't really have 2 black guys walking out in chains."
Yeah, I think they changed it up
Like,
right away, right? They're like, "Hey, you
yeah,
guys can't
it
do
was like
that."
It was like 1 or 2 events. They're like, "Yeah, no, you cannot do this. Like, this is not acceptable in any way."
But then they have
And I think,
Kamala come out.
yeah, yeah, seriously, that's so true, eh? Oh man, that's funny.
But the opening match was it was a pretty good match. It was a 15-minute match. Meng being a great competitor. Sting as well. Sting the legend. We get to see the bait. Well, like he's always been face, but the more out there, the more loud, the
Yeah,
woo, the wooing to the crowd, the fucking blonde hair, short hair. This is before he became the Crow.
yeah, and the crow sting was like the one that I feel like everyone when you hear a sting, you think of that one.
Yeah,
But
that's what I thought of.
when you go back and you start think like you because I knew about him as this way, and there were some compete this way. He was like a lot of fun to watch. Like just bright color. I mean, it was that era of bright colors and that kind of stuff. But I love the idea of like the brooding brawler in Mang taking on the fast paced face with Sting. Like Mang did a perfect job of just whooping Sting and Sting unable to finish the match like with the death lock and stuff like that. So he had like doing that little roll up. I feel like it was like the perfect way to finish it, just because he could not beat him any which way. He had to take any advantage possible.
Hmm. Yeah. Sorry, I'm high.
That's all good.
You getting Connor back on?
Trying to avoid having gone back on. He's going crazy.
Yeah, no, but like we were saying, it's good to see how popular Sting was before he was the Crow, and I guess that's why he was so
Yeah,
over right away. There was really no turnover for him. He came out right away and he was over
yeah.
as soon as
And
he
Mang
dropped
too.
down.
Like, I don't think there's anyone who doesn't like Mang. Like, even when he was Haku in WWF back in the '80s, into doing like Mang, and then teaming with the Barbarian and doing the Faces of Fear and all that stuff. Like, he's always been like even like, as a heel, he was just a solid competitor that you could not hate him. He was just so much fun to watch. Like,
Yeah, and this was the story of the match was pretty much Meng not going overboard, but just pushing it, and being very brutal versus a more technical style Sting, doing the splashes, doing more wrestling style moves. He's a lot more agile, a lot faster as this Sting. He still carries over a lot of moves to the other Sting, but the other Sting was more of a punch him out. We'll hit him with a bat, but
Yeah.
he still kept the Stinger Splash and the Scorpion Death Drop, the Scorpion Deathlock. He still kept those moves when he transitioned over. But you see him running a lot more. You see him doing Hurricane Ranas.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot different of a Sting. And I guess with age, you got to drop some of those things. And I didn't realize how old he was as Crow Sting.
Yeah, because he's in his like mid 50s now, right? So he was like in his mid 30s when all that was really starting to happen. So yeah, even on this pay-per-view, he's late 20s, early 30s. So his body's been through probably a lot of wear and tear just to get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
He's still doing the thing. He's still trying to get him out there.
Still trying.
I think he was. Did he team with the Warrior? Right, him and Warrior wore similar fucking.
Yeah, I feel like they had like an Australian kind of name or something.
I can't remember what it was, but it was perfect for them too because they both had the fucking face paint, the different hair, so you could tell them
Yeah,
apart.
yeah.
It just worked out so well.
So I think that. Oh, I'm thinking like I think this is when Warrior was the Dingo Warrior for a while. I think that's what I'm thinking of.
Okay.
But I remember him and Sting had like a I never seen them in action, but I know that they were a tag team for a while.
Yeah.
The one thing I don't know what you thought about it, but having Meng continuously like celebrate a victory.
Yeah, when there was.
And I'm like maybe he like the first time I thought okay maybe he's just like showboating, being like look like those. When you watch, I think the old like 50s and 60s, and the big bad guy would be like walking around like that's the best he can do, blah blah. But then the second one when he had I think it was like a pinfall, and he kicks out, and he raises his hand like what's going on? Like what? Like why is he? Like it was just
turns
such a
away,
weird...
but then like he comes back and kicks him, even though the ref never really tells him, hey, he didn't kick out, but he celebrated.
Yeah,
The win. It was weird.
Yeah, like I feel like there may have been like a gap there or something, but like I said, like I think the roll up at the end was like a perfect way to finish it off because I feel like they were trying to get it over that it keeps Meng as being like this super imposing like beast, and it allows Sting to hold onto the title still.
Mm-hmm. And they both got their moves in.
Yep. Oh
like
yeah.
I mentioned, they had a good long match, so they both got to get their offense in. We got to see them, and it wasn't a bad finish for Meng. Sting gets out of there with his title.
And usually when you see those kind of roll-ups, it's like, ugh. But I feel like Sting had been beaten so badly to that point that you can believe that it was a last gasp effort to just roll him up and hope to get the win. So it is believable in that aspect.
Mm-hmm. I have Sting Great American Bash defining moments figure.
Oh, is that the one with like the red, white, and blue coat?
Yeah.
He's like that. Yeah.
He's over there somewhere, and it's hanging down. And yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't opened that one. And then above him, I have the Crow Sting defining moments.
Nice.
And that packaging that you had the Undertaker and Austin in, that same packaging, yeah.
I'll drop my son off to hang out with you for one day, and they'll all be open.
Give me 2 days so I can put them away in boxes and seal the boxes.
And then bury the boxes.
Yeah, and bury the boxes. No, there's some stuff that he can play with that's already opened. Not the display though; those can break.
Oh, he will. He gets into everything. Don't worry.
No, those are open already and they're like displayed out.
Oh.
That's why no one's allowed in my room. I don't want kids in here playing with my shit. I told my mom, I'm like, hey mom, don't let people up here. I'm like, I got a lot of money on the walls.
Seriously,
I stopped counting at 1,000 as just at the figures, and that's when I started opening them. And now I have more open figures than I have sealed. Dude, because they're all $20 a pop.
Well, for me, if I'm looking at that, like that would be like my retirement fund. Just like keep them sealed. Be like, one day you guys laugh at me, but one day I'll be
Daniel Bryan sealed back there. I have 2 Charizards holographic.
Nice.
In a book somewhere, buried in boxes. No one's getting them. Where were we? Yeah, so Sting keeps his WCW United States Championship, which now is a key staple on the main roster, should hold the same weight as the Intercontinental, but everyone knows that the Intercontinental is a little bit better.
Yeah, I feel like the WCW US title and the WWE US title don't have the same impact as it did back in the NWA days. Like back in the NWA, that title was like on par almost with the World Championship, and then when it went to WCW, it was always viewed as like a lower tier for some reason. Like they always compared it to the TV title, which I never got because I thought the TV title was more basic, more generic.
Yeah.
But
to me, it was you're good enough to be the champion of in the United States region. You know, when they had the regions and that stuff. So we'll put the title on you. But the Intercontinental was when they can move around and sell in different areas. This is what I'm guessing. And eventually they were going to put the main title on them. I think it was just to see how they worked out. Now I don't know how they do it because the Miz is like 8-time Intercontinental champion and like he's won the title like once. So
I feel like having the US title and the Intercontinental title in the same company takes away from the both of them because they almost use them as the same thing. Like you said, like if you hold this title, you probably are going to go with the next level, but they gave it to Zack Ryder at WrestleMania.
Yeah, and then
there was no one ever thought that Zack Ryder was going to be. He's a great entertainer, but he's not going to be the heavyweight champion. But to give him the Intercontinental title to me, it was like okay. Mm-hmm. But that's the thing. Like these titles sometimes they go up and down, and like you said, being the champion, like we can rely like the U.S. title. You can main event house shows across the United States if the world champion's out doing a different tour. The TV title can be defended on TV so that fans have a chance to see a title change maybe on TV to draw more eyes. Like WCW was smart doing like branding it those ways, but I just feel like they took away too much prestige from some titles by even having them like as the opening match. Like I felt like having Sting as the U.S. champion as the opening match was like it caught me off guard. I thought that would be like maybe not because I think there's only 7 matches or 8 matches on this one. But I think like having it as 3rd or 4th, maybe like start off with like a TV title, then move on to like a non-title, then maybe
they could have started off with DDP.
Yeah, for what that match was.
Yeah, like DDP was like up there in the. Well, it was more of the. I guess it was the intermission match, but I guess we can move on to the next match. It was weird. I want to get your take. Well, yeah, your take on the Renegade. For people that don't know who the Renegade is, it's WCW's answer to the Ultimate Warrior, and for a little bit, people thought it was the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, like, and you can see why.
Yeah, he looks like him.
Especially around this time, maybe around like 92 when he was teaming with Macho Man. He was coming out not in the trunks. He was coming out more like in like the wrestling gear attire.
Yeah.
So, and then he was supposed to go to WCW, but then Vince tossed him some more money or something happened and he didn't go. So they were like, all right, well, let's figure this out. Here, cheap knockoff of him.
Put the arm on his face.
Yeah, like I feel bad for him because he never really got over that gimmick. That gimmick really buried his career and spun him into the depression that ended up with him taking his own life.
Yeah.
But they tried so hard to make this thing work and no one was buying it. Instead of just nipping it at the bud, they kept pushing it down everyone's throat and he just couldn't handle all the negativity. Yeah. And I feel like they could have handled, because I mean, you see like his physique, his charisma, he could have had fun matches with other guys if they just took away the Renegade character, and give him something a little bit more original. Like,
yeah, because the Warrior gimmick is so corny, it only works one way. You can't have your take on the Warrior gimmick because I don't know what you would do with it, and this one came off to me as a little bit more robotic. I don't know. It was just he was trying to, it's not his fault. It was WCW trying to copy it exactly, and it's like, hey, what are you guys doing?
The best comparison I just thought of for that is when Diesel and Razor jumped ship,
Yeah.
and they brought in the fake Diesel and the fake Razor Ramon, and they legitimately tried to tell people this is Diesel and Razor Ramon, and people were like, "Wow, Razor really put on the weight in that 1 week that he was away from the TV tape," and they tried it, and no one believed it, and it flopped, and those guys never got over in WWF. Just because a gimmick works doesn't mean you have to maintain. Like, you can switch things up and utilize. Like, to be honest, I actually thought for the longest time that Van Hammer was the Renegade because they kind of had like that weird hair, like the hair on the face. Can't really see them all that well. But yeah, like, Renegade just and giving him the title, the TV title that quickly, and then having him go out and fight guys like Paul Orndorff, who were legends at that time, like that people really knew about, and tried to really get him over, and it just fell flat. Like, it fell flat fast, and it never could get inflated.
Yeah.
Kind of like
Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
I can almost guarantee you that the same thing's gonna be happening with Bray Wyatt very shortly.
Oh yeah, we could. I want to touch on that gimmick real quick. So Bray Wyatt came out with like a Mr. Rogers gimmick, but I'm hating on it right now, and I'm gonna stop hating on it. I'm gonna give it a week or two. I hear it's Bray Wyatt's idea, and I hear he's got creative control over it.
Okay.
To a certain degree, like I hear they're letting him run with it. So I want to see where it goes, I guess. I hated on it right away because I did not like it. Even Bray came out and tweeted, "Man, you guys missed a lot of things," and like that was kind of it. So I want to see what's up.
I feel like because he had such an awesome gimmick, as Bray Wyatt, that why just let it build off of it. Like, we were talking last night, like maybe have Daniel Bryan manage him while he has I think he has a shoulder injury or something right now. Maybe have him come in that angle, but I don't know. Maybe he could be the follower to Daniel Bryan now, and Eric Rowan or something. Switch that angle up a bit, but
I'm hoping, and here's a crazy twist. I hope he's the new Undertaker, and I've been saying it for a while, and he was mentioning a lot of undead shit, and maybe I'm just crazy, but I think he'd fit perfectly into a new kind of Undertaker role. Not the Undertaker, an Undertaker type of thing, his own Undertaker.
Something
I know we're just talking about how don't repackage, repackage, but it's you don't have to do the exact same thing.
No, you could do something like Kane. Kane and Undertaker were very identical characters, but very different stories.
Yes.
And that's why so you can do there's a difference between repackaging and using the building blocks from one thing and building a new tower.
And WWE still has the Undertaker. To me, I thought they were going to pull the trigger at that WrestleMania and have Bray Wyatt beat the Undertaker somehow and become the new Undertaker. And to me, it made sense at the time, and they didn't do it. Undertaker won. They still have an opportunity, especially with Bray Wyatt trying to, like I said, he's trying to be like a Mr. Rogers kind of talk show thing where he's trying to redeem himself, but you still see hints of evil Bray Wyatt in there, and I don't know. So,
I feel like I see that beaver cleavage too much. I just see too much of, you had this really good character, and now you're kind of making him be this other polar opposite in a weird way, but. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not 100% sold on it. I'll have to wait and see where they go in the next few months, what stories they give him to work with, what angles, who they give him to go with. But yeah, I'm interested to see what they do.
Yeah, I was hating on it yesterday really bad, and I gave it a breather. And today I'm a little bit more open to the idea, and I want to see where it goes. I'm not excited for it, but I'll give it a shot. I'll see what's going on.
John Davis wants him in the Hall of Fame right now. I don't know if you
for that gimmick.
For that character change, yeah. He said, put Bray in the Hall right now. So I'm gonna have a word with John about that.
I don't know. It's just I don't know where it's going, and it seems very, very strange. And I don't know if I can't fully get on track with something. I don't know where it's going. It's like, hey, get on the train. It's like, I don't know where the fuck you're going.
That's
Like,
it.
I'm
Like when you
really
see like
confused.
yeah, and it's weird. Like when you see like someone like Becky Lynch back in like December, well, maybe even before that, when she got like the legit busted up nose and that,
Hmm.
you knew she was going to get the title at WrestleMania. You knew that they were going to give her this Austin kind of angle. They did the same thing a couple of years ago with Daniel Bryan, but it works. These things like you know what's coming. You can prepare yourself for it. But when you see something like this, where you have like this dark guy comes out, pitch black, the big beard, looks filthy, the lantern, he has followers, like everything is so. And then all of a sudden he comes out and he's like a he's you don't, I don't know, he looks like Mr. Rogers on an acid trip.
Yeah,
It's like I don't know, like I need to see where they go, but I
dude.
don't know how long I can commit to it.
I got to be part of the crowd one time with the Fireflies.
Did you really?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
here in Chicago. Yeah, it was pretty. It was pretty awesome. So I got to be part of that, and which what I thought was one of the last times the Undertaker was going to come out before his WrestleMania against Roman.
Okay.
The one here in Chicago might have been the same one where Bray came out. Jesus got us tickets pretty close, and the Undertaker came out, and Bray came out that same night. I actually have video from like 40 years ago that came, like it's on Facebook. It comes up whenever the anniversary comes up, but I got to be part of those two moments. I've gotten to be part of Fedor twice.
That's
I've
cool.
gotten to see Jordan twice in the same arena here at the United
That's
Center.
awesome. That's cool.
Yeah, so
I the best I have. I almost had. Well, now he's Robert Roode, but I had Bobby Roode. I had gotten front row seats to BCW, which is Border City Wrestling between Windsor and Detroit. And Bobby Roode came out, and I'm front row, and everyone has their hands out. He's slapping everyone's hand. He walks past me, doesn't slap my hand, and so I'm like, I give him a backhand into the shoulder,
yeah.
and he turned around with a fist up.
What?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and I was just like, I put my hands up, like we were like selling back. I thought it was like 15, 16 years ago. It was a long time ago. He was still probably new to TNA at the time. But yeah, so I got backhanded his shoulder, and he turned around and get the fist, and it was like, what? Like, all the fans were getting in on it, and
Yeah, I remember going to the United Center to see Jordan. I was 10, and you don't have a lot of memories, but I remember that just because of how big Jordan was in this city.
mm-hmm.
Everyone wanted to be like Mike. McDonald's, he was on McDonald's. Everyone was wearing his shoes. He was on all the commercials. Space Jam was out. Everything was Jordan.
Yeah,
And Mike,
he was basketball for
yeah.
like a solid like 8 years. It was like just Jordan, no matter what.
And my cousin
Even
was like, "You want to go see Michael Jordan?" And I'm like, "What? Okay." And well, the thing was, his mom worked. She was a supervisor or something at a fortune cookie company, and
Okay.
the owner liked my aunt, so he would give her tickets to the game, but she doesn't speak English. She's straight from Mexico. She doesn't know what basketball is.
Oh,
So she'd be like, just take my son, and I don't want to go because I don't know what it is. So take my son, and then my cousin, not having any siblings and living downstairs from us, and I was like his little brother. He would be like, hey, can I take my cousin? And I'd be like, I'm going. Fuck yeah, I'm going.
that's awesome.
Yeah, I wish I would have kept the foam fingers, but they got destroyed. I was a kid. I
Oh
had
yeah,
the number one foam finger and shit.
I had the Austin foam finger with the middle finger,
Nice.
and
Nice.
my cat got a hold of it, and just shredded it right up.
I wish I would have gotten to go to shows when I was younger, but my dad is Mexican. My dad is Mexican. No, well, he likes lucha
Yes, the
and stuff.
luchas, yeah.
But that doesn't really come here. Can you give me a second, Ryan? I'm gonna close the shade because I can see.
Yeah, definitely.
It's super bright. Can you see?
Yeah, I got a
Super
big glare on
bright,
your
yeah.
screen. Yeah.
I almost died. I hope that comes out.
What did you just trip over there?
You know that foam roller?
Oh yeah.
Ah, you can see it on YouTube. If you watch YouTube, you can see me almost fall. I went to go close the shade on the way back. I stepped on the foam roller,
That's
so
funny.
my leg rolled. Good thing I got cat skills, so
There you go, like a
covered.
ninja.
Yeah, like a ninja. Let's get back on track.
I get really like this Paul Orndorff and Renegade match. Basically, the tangent we just went on pretty much sums up how this match went. Like Orndorff, nearing the end of his career, didn't really look all that great as he used to in the Renegade. Basically, being the Warrior. That's like you said, like he did Warrior stuff. Like
Same moves.
yeah,
Moves.
even like the when the hair was over the head, he would shake his head and like really pump himself up. Like, I mean.
Yeah.
I feel like this would have been almost like a better opening match if you want to have a title open the show, just because
100%.
it's.
Yeah, dude,
I mean,
it should have been this one.
and I know that I understand like your opening match is supposed to like really draw the crowd in, so you want something really big, but at the same time, I feel like it's a slap in the face to Sting to have this title defense second.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it was cool to see Paul Orndorff like still doing his thing. Even though he didn't look as good as he did back in the 80s and that kind of stuff and into the 70s. But
and they gave him the not clean finish. They gave him I think he got backdropped, belly to back backdrop, and the Renegade goes for the pin, and the referee being at a weird angle doesn't catch Mr. Wonderful's right shoulder go up, and Wonderful complains, attacks Renegade.
yeah.
But Renegade instantly gets up. Let's sell a little bit better, Renegade.
Yeah.
Instantly gets up, jumps to the top rope. Mr. Wonderful is arguing with the referee about the botch finish. You should have seen my fucking right shoulder, goddammit. It's so wonderful it came up off the mat. You didn't see it. Renegade does I think it was a crossbody or something off the top rope, and leaves. I think that was it.
There was.
That was it.
I don't even know. Yeah, I don't even know what to like. It was what it was.
Yeah, why don't you do that during the match? After that, we had I think it was the weird promo. I don't know where the promo came, but we had a promo of the introduction of Kamala into the Dungeon of Doom.
Oh yeah, with that. I was watching with Kara, and she thought it looked like Thanos, that rock guy. And she said
the guy with the face paint and shit.
Yeah, like he looked like a giant. I thought he looked like a boulder, and then she says Thanos, and I was like, great. Now I can't get Thanos out of my head. Now I'm thinking that Thanos is gonna be walking out with Kevin Sullivan to defeat Hulk Hogan.
Maybe.
Just done.
Maybe he did look a little weird. Like that.
Yeah.
I don't know what he was.
But this goes back to like what you were saying with like rehashing Hogan's ideas. Like this was what Hogan would have done. It was these weird cartoony characters that you didn't
I want to get into the Dungeon of Doom a little bit. So I did my investigating into the Dungeon of Doom. Dude, this was such a cartoon gimmick at the time.
Yeah. But in the 80s it would have killed. In WWF in the late 80s it would have killed. Mm-hmm. But it was just I think the wrong era for this.
It was a little bit confusing to me as a kid seeing this, I guess, because so Hogan tested his heel side during this this whole storyline with the Dungeon of Doom. I don't think at this time it had yet to come to fruition with that, but the Dungeon of Doom was formed when Brutus the Barber, Beefcake came over from WWF.
Oh, the Zodiac.
And was attacking Hogan over and over again. As a masked figure, Hogan reveals him as the Zodiac, which was super fucking weird. He had like a zebra face paint, zebra gear.
It almost looked like Brutus Barber cut up that gear too.
Yeah, and on the side was like, you can see like all of his thighs are exposed in a very homosexual way. Not there's anything wrong with it.
Nothing at all.
Yeah, nothing at all.
It was one of those weird costumes that when you see him come out, you have to do a double take. Like why is he dressed like it didn't make sense, that costume. Like you could have just had him wear like zebra trunks if that was what you wanted. Why? I don't get why they had to be all cut up. Like it didn't explain that. Oh, he's crawled through hell and now he's here to destroy. Like no, it just he's the Zodiac. Like go okay.
What did that even mean? The Zodiac.
I think it was they were trying to like play off the Zodiac killer from back in what was like the 60s in California, was it? I think.
Yeah.
that's the only thing that I could take from it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know, like it's not like he had like Capricorn and Leo all over himself. Like he didn't have any of those zodiac signs on him.
Yeah, it was just so weird. But yeah, the the Dungeon of Doom was formed for that purpose. So Zodiac is brought in. No, actually, so the Dungeon of Doom is formed because Taskmaster, Kevin Sullivan, brings in his brother, and they're playing him as kind of mentally disabled a little bit.
Yeah, he had the dyslexia.
Yeah,
I was
is
reading
that what
about
it
that
was?
today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they were playing that he had dyslexia, and he was a super Hulk Hogan fan. Well, he went crazy because he saw Hogan, and he became a Hulkamaniac. And Kevin Sullivan being super angry that his baby brother is no longer, or he's no longer his baby brother's favorite wrestler, decides to form the Dungeon of Doom.
To destroy Hogan.
Yes.
Like that.
Fantastic storyline, bro.
And if anyone hasn't listened to 83 Weeks with Eric Bischoff, you have to go back, because when he talks about Kevin Sullivan, like he rips Kevin Sullivan apart a lot because
He deserves to.
well, and he says that Kevin Sullivan had a lot of good ideas, but then he would follow those good ideas with something like that. Like the Dungeon of Doom had potential to be like the Ministry of Darkness, but that's the difference between good creative and bad creative.
This is the reason I want to go back, because a lot of these names were huge. They were the names back in the day. The Paul Orndorffs, the Kevin Sullivans. They were the ones that were the Hogans of their time. Well, not really the Hogans, but they were big names. They were holding titles in the regions and in the promotions that they were in. And I want to go back and check that out.
Yeah, because I think Orndorff was main event at WrestleMania 1 against Hogan.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's how big he was. Like, Madison Square Gardens, WrestleMania 1. Vince McMahon's putting everything into this event. And he went main event, Hogan, Mr. T, Piper, and Orndorff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's how big Orndorff was.
Yeah.
I think the one thing with the Dungeon of Doom, I haven't looked at it in a long time, but I remember reading the members that had come and gone. Mm-hmm. And like I had said about the Ministry of Darkness, and you had like the Brood, the Acolytes, Midi, and Viscera. Like you had these like
good
guys,
fucking people.
But when you see the Dungeon of Doom, there were some guys who are just like he's just a regular guy. Like there were some people where you look at it, you're like he's not even a character. It's just like, hey, there's Vince from accounting. It's like he's like Hogan either. It's like, what do you like? They were just like pulling people in. It's like, give them a scary gimmick if that's what you're going for. Like, yeah, like you said, the shark. Oh my god! Like they
one of the natural disasters, Earthquake, I think it was.
Yeah, Earthquake, John Tenta.
Yeah, Tenta, which was I think a sumo wrestler, right? A champion sumo wrestler.
Yeah, he was a champion sumo wrestler. He was a beast, and now he's the shark.
Yeah, and it's just because they want to repackage him to be one of Hogan's old opponents, being new.
Yeah,
because
Hogan said, I can work with him. I like working with him. He likes working with me. We're friends. We can make this happen. Bring him in. Put him in the Dungeon of Doom. All right, we need a scary name. I know, the Shark.
So dumb.
Why is the Shark fighting at Bash at the Beach? By the way, like,
yeah, right.
Is there a more appropriate time to have the Shark in a pay-per-view?
Oh, but then you couldn't have Hogan say, "I'm gonna pick you up, Vader, and throw you into the sharks."
Yeah,
he's gonna press him above his head and throw him into the sharks, brother. But,
man.
Yeah, they introduced Kamala. This was one of the big introductions of the Dungeon of Doom of Kamala. Horrible acting by Kevin Sullivan, yelling both characters yelling whatever his leader was supposed to be. I don't know what the name of him was. They're both like right next to each other, but they're yelling. And I get the wrestlers are always loud and over dramatic and stuff, but this is like very over the top. Like,
yeah, it was like too much. Like I had to fast forward through some of it because I'm like, I can't. Like I don't like. At least with like when
I went back and I looked up fucking I looked up all the footage. I looked up all of them pieced together, and I had to see them all. It was gold. It was.
But
it was
when like Ultimate Warrior would like go into his rampage in an interview, and you listen to like if you read what he actually said, it makes no sense whatsoever.
Oh, dude, what
Like,
Hogan?
but at least when he was screaming,
Yeah.
it was like intense. You felt
Yeah.
power. These
What?
guys here were just
Where am
like,
I?
yeah.
There's no Hulkamaniacs here. That's not hot. Because there was steaming water.
Yeah, oh yeah.
There was just like horrible, like
Oh, dude.
going nowhere dialogue of Hogan by himself.
Hmm.
It was just so weird. Well, not weird. It was just so bad.
It also seems like a lot of the promos that they were cutting were something that they just should have done a week or two before on a TV show,
Mm-hmm.
and then say, Bash at the Beach, we have something special coming. Don't, you know what I mean? Like it felt like you're supposed to build that lead up towards the pay per view, not have it at the pay per view, because a lot of the fans in attendance aren't seeing that.
Mm-hmm.
It's only for the viewers,
Yeah.
and if you're a viewer for maybe like you're going to your friend's house, you've never seen this before. You're like, what the hell's happened? You're like, oh, I don't know. I know as much as you do. Like, I thought you watch it. I do. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
everyone's going in blind, and it was just, yeah, it was a missed opportunity, and especially for someone like Kamala, who, like, I'm sorry, I love Kamala. He was one of one of my favorite characters when I first started watching wrestling. Back in the early '90s, when him and Undertaker were doing their thing in WWF, and that, like,
Very stereotypical. I don't find anything wrong with using stereotypes. I don't find it being racist. I try to look as how the context of it being used as.
mm-hmm,
And, they did use whatever they saw as racial traits. And
mm-hmm.
maybe they were over the top and everything. I don't know if they were necessarily racist and depicting hate.
Right, yeah,
But they did very, very racial
yeah.
in this gimmick of,
They
and it's always
definitely
been the same though.
It definitely was like when you watch like those old like Bugs Bunny cartoons from like the 50s and 40s, like when you would
Mm-hmm.
see the Africans were supposed to be tribesmen looking like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the difference is that when you watch this as a kid, if you take it away, it's like, oh wow, like this guy's showing like the unknown parts of Africa. No one's ever been there except for Harvey Whippleman,
Mm-hmm.
and he came across this monster and he's so and they made him like, despite the stereotypes, they made him cool. They made him likable. Like, you wanted to see him. You didn't care if he won or lost, but you were entertained by him. And I think that's the key thing is, if you're doing something racist, like we were saying, like Harlem Heat coming out in chains, like that's where you have to draw the line.
Yeah.
But when you have this guy coming out and he's supposed to be like this like monster, like whatever, like I dig it. Like I thought that was really cool to do.
They
I would
it
I
wasn't
wouldn't
it
do it
wasn't
today.
blackface.
No, and that's it. I wouldn't do it today, but that's
Mhm.
because we're in a different place in society. But back
Yeah,
then,
and
back then
racial
it
is
was okay.
racist now.
Yeah.
It's a whole different thing. I don't
Mhm.
take it as that, and I don't like living in that world. So I live in the fucking
That's why I
contextually
like
right
fantasy
world.
stuff.
Yeah.
I love fantasy, like wrestling, and just, like I'm getting into like superheroes and comics a lot more. And I feel like just because like it's a lot more believable in a fantasy world than it is in the real world, which is
Hmm.
so sad to think.
Yeah.
But
Did you watch Game of Thrones?
I
Do you watch Game of Thrones?
I accidentally watched the season one recap
Mm-hmm.
before I watched season one.
Yeah.
So I knew everything that happened pretty much in the season. So I
You've never seen it?
just never got into it because I was like, I can't watch it now. I know what's gonna happen,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. Like, because I could put the wrong disc in, and I was like, ah. And then I watched like bits and pieces. Kara watched it, the first three seasons, I think,
Yeah, and then she
and
gave
I
up.
I kind of watched it here and there, and I was just like, like, I feel like I need to like I know if I sit down and watch
Mm-hmm.
like 3 seasons, 4 seasons, I will be like a junkie, like shooting it up. But I
Yeah.
don't know. I just
People are complaining right now because these 2 episodes are kind of I don't know if you know, but it's the last season.
yeah. Oh, I know the like
Mhm.
the bit
Yeah.
gist of it. Yeah, yeah.
So it's the last season. Spoiler alert for people that don't want to know anything. I'm gonna spoil stuff. Not a lot because I don't want to spoil shit for you, just in case you go back and watch it. But yeah, they go back and like wrap shit up in these last 2 episodes. And one of these, they knight one of the females.
Oh, I heard about like this like Amazon
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
girl,
yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah,
okay. I heard
Brienne
about
of
that.
Tarth. she gets knighted because she's like the actual one that's like a noble knight throughout the whole thing, but women can't be knights. So
Okay.
this is the night before they're supposed to fight the White Walkers, and they're like, we're all gonna fucking die. And one like I guess all you need is a knight to knight you. Um, and it kind of brought a tear to my eye. I was like, oh, because
Oh,
through she's
yeah, I saw you post that
yeah.
on Sunday night. Yeah.
Because I'm in a fraternity. I'm Omega Delta Phi, and our
Okay.
mascot is a knight.
Okay.
So when we cross and we get knighted into our fraternity, we get knighted
Oh,
into
that's
our
cool.
fraternity with an actual sword and stuff.
Nice.
So I
Okay,
was
that's
like,
cool.
no way. I was like, I got knighted once too, but that was like a
You're like,
whole
I
thing.
feel you. I
Yeah,
feel you.
yeah, because she's tearing up, all happy because she's like, well, I'm a chick. She's like, girls don't get, we don't get knighted. And then the Lannister guy, I don't know, he's like one of the Kingslayer. He's like,
Okay.
you don't need a king to knight you. He's like, you just need a knight. And he's like, get down on your knees or get down on your knee. And then everyone's
Yeah,
like,
you can't really
what?
say it down on your knees. That wouldn't.
Yeah, yeah. She's like, suck my dick. Get down on your knees. This is how you get knighted, bitch.
Take the sword out.
Yeah. No, but he's like, get down on your knee, and then everyone's like, what the fuck? He's like, yeah, get down. He's like, you want to get knighted or not? And then she's like, yeah. And then he knights her, and then she's all happy.
And then they all get slaughtered. Like,
Yeah. And then the next
then the
episode,
massacre.
everyone
Yeah.
dies. Then actually, the next episode, literally, they're gonna fight everybody. It's
Yeah, I heard I think it was Brendan Shaw was talking about it, and he said how like they're set up for like this war. Like, I don't know. I hear a lot about the show from other people, so I can
Mhm.
piece together a lot that has happened. But it just to me, it sounds like a lot of people are there. It seem upset because this season, I guess, from what I'm gathering, it's like they're rushing things too soon, but they instead of like stretching it out. But I mean, I don't know the show well enough to make a
Yeah.
real statement, I guess, you know.
Hmm. Well, uh, you've seen The Walking Dead, right? And
I saw the first few seasons, not
okay.
the
Well,
last one.
it's like mostly it's an it's a battle of it's against the zombies, but it's really a battle of the group and getting trying to get the group ahead and the inner battles and trying to resolve them. This is kind of the same thing. They're trying to resolve the issue with the throne,
Oh, okay.
but now the White Walkers have it's always been there in the background that there's these zombie things that can come, and then they finally came. That's how the show starts.
And there, the winter is coming, right?
Yeah,
Is that?
that's literally what it means, and it's
Yeah.
taken 8 seasons for it to get here. And these last 2 episodes of this season are hemming everything up.
Okay.
Because you have so much character development in so many different areas. There's so many different. Well, there's let's see, there's 3 main families that you really have to keep an eye on that are vying for the fucking throne. And the Starks, the Lannisters, and the Targaryens. They're the ones that and Khaleesi's the Targaryens, the one with the fucking dragons.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember
So
that.
yeah.
I remember being introduced to Khaleesi in that
Mhm.
first episode.
So yeah. So right now everything's pretty much like they have to put all that bullshit on the back burner, hem up whatever they have to hem up because they literally don't know what's gonna happen because they all think everyone's gonna die.
Right.
In
Okay.
Winterfell, and then the White Walkers will move on from there to try to make the
So,
whole world like that.
so the first girl to be knighted, she's gonna end up with the throne. Then she's just gonna end up being the last one standing.
The writing in this, dude. The writing in this is so fucking crazy. I couldn't like like Shop said. It's so much that I would have to get into to get to
Yeah.
explain how confusing it is at the end because she's supposed to be the last living relative of her bloodline.
Okay.
And at the last episode of the last season, you find out that it's not, she's not the last one, and it's actually a male that is the
Oh.
last living blood that has more of a right to the throne because he's male.
Oh, right. Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, she just found out last episode too.
So
So,
now she's gonna go off and try and kill him.
well, so
Yeah.
so the last episode they fucked, Ryan.
Ah!
They don't know this. They don't know they're related. So the
Oh,
last
is
episode
this?
in
I
season
saw.
7 they fuck,
I
and
saw
then
a meme
and then
today, and it was
yeah
something about Game of Alabama. It's like,
yeah
I had sex with
so
your brother. He's actually your nephew, or something like
yeah.
that.
So
Yeah.
the last
Okay.
episode of season 7 they fuck, and then in the first episode of season 8, which we're in now, he finds out that it's his aunt, and then he's got Stark and Targaryen blood. And then in episode
Okay.
2 of this season, he tells her like this was the closing fucking shit. He's like, "Hey, just so you know, your brother and my aunt fucked, and I'm Aegon Targaryen." And then she's like, "Who the fuck said that?" And he's like, my brother, the guy that's the three-eyed raven now, and some guy that look and my best friend that looked in the history books, and that's why I'm a bastard child. That's why my uncle took me. And you remember Ned?
Oh yeah,
He he
that's how
he
come I
took
can't watch the show because I saw him get his head cut off.
he took he. I'm ruining everything for you. Let's just go on. Let's just move on.
Yeah, that's going to be the big twist at the end. He's actually the White Walker. He's from the future. He's coming back to
You know
take
what?
his throne.
They're saying that. So they're in Winterfell, and they're saying that the White Walkers might make it to the crypts where all the dead bodies of the Starks are, and they're saying that the
Ah.
Starks might come back as fucking White Walkers, dude.
You know what? Sean Bean dies in everything. How about once you'd bring him back from the dead and you put him in the throne to end the whole series? Like,
Mm-hmm.
give Sean Bean like the trophy for once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude. I
That
got
got
on a super
intense.
rant. Yeah, I got on a super rant. There's
It's
just so
all
much,
good.
dude. It's so good. And I stayed away from it because it was so popular, and people
Right.
loved it, and people were like, "Oh, you should see it," and I'm like, "Leave me alone." All right.
Honestly, I just couldn't watch it because I didn't have access to HBO or
You
it was
should
also
you should
on a
stop me,
movie.
Ryan. You should
Yeah,
stop me.
it was also on the movie network here in Canada, and I just never watched it. And my buddy burned me a couple seasons,
Hmm.
and like I said, I put the wrong season on, so I'm like, oh, I know everything in season one. Now I don't want to watch it, but whatever.
Hmm.
Kara was watching it, so I would catch episodes and scenes, but like I just never sat down and really focused all my energy on an episode. But I have that kind of a brain that I know if I sat down and watched it, I would be like people would be talking to me, I would not even hear them.
Yeah. When I started watching it, the first episode, it introduces the White Walkers and this and that, and then I'm like, "This is Elder Scrolls. No way." The game I fucking play. I'm like, "This is."
Oh yeah, yeah. I think you maybe mentioned that before somewhere
Yeah.
in an earlier podcast.
So I would have liked it off the bat. It's just like a super. It's like, I guess it's just an in-depth story of there, and it's a character development of that instead of just like a broad view of me going around being a champion of whatever and being the champion of the realm. This is the same
Right.
thing, but you see it a lot more in that in so many more characters. I definitely give it a check as one of my favorite shows. Back to WCW. So yeah, Kamala takes on Hacksaw Jim Duggan. For those of you guys that don't know who Hacksaw Jim Duggan, I don't know if he was using Hacksaw in this. Was it just Jim Duggan? I
Ah,
don't remember.
I
I didn't make a note of that.
I didn't take notice either. I feel like whenever I saw him, I just assumed it was Hacksaw Jim Duggan, but
Yeah.
now I don't know if they ever say
Hmm.
Hacksaw
Here
because
it
he
says
still
it.
had the whole gimmick and everything.
Yeah.
It basically was Hacksaw, but I
Hmm.
don't know if they
Comes out
actually
with the two
had
by
that.
four,
Yeah,
the flag. Same dude, same blue fucking gear, same character.
yeah.
Yeah, but Kamala win. I don't know what else to say about this match besides the finisher. Kamala wins because
Zodiac with the
Zodiac,
mask.
yeah, runs in with the giant African mask and hits
Yeah, it was a Taskmaster was okay.
distracting ref.
Okay, I don't know if you caught this, but this really pissed me off when I watched this. So Taskmaster's on the apron, the referee's talking to him, and Jim Duggan comes. He jumps, lands on the referee, and grabs the Taskmaster, and the referee starts pushing Duggan off. Any other match, the referee's knocked out cold.
Yeah,
I'm watching like, oh, I see him hit the referee and grab the hat. I'm like, okay, he's gonna back away. The referee's gonna be out cold, and they're gonna do a cheap finish. But no, the referee was not. The referee was okay.
Was the ref off this night, dude? It
I have
seemed.
no idea.
I think the ref was kind of off this night
I
a
feel
little
like the
bit.
ref was supposed to go down, and then maybe Jim is supposed to shake him, wake him up, and get hit, knocked out, 1, 2, 3. But yeah, I don't understand how I've seen refs take lighter bumps and have to go out, and he just stood there, no problem staying. I mean, Nick Patrick, I guess, is like him and Charles Robinson are like the WCW guys, so maybe he's a little stronger than other guys. But the, I thought the match was good because it was these two big guys. You're getting what you expect to see: heavy moves, high power, like high offensive moves, like Jim Duggan doing that off the ropes shoulder tackle, trying to knock him down. He's shaking his arm. Oh, he's not
Yeah,
gonna.
he's
I
got
love that
awesome
kind of
balance, bro.
good selling. Low balance of low center of gravity, right?
Yeah, with that giant stomach.
Uh, but like all those like perfect build up, and then I would have been happier if the ref was out and they cheated Duggan to get Kamala the win, than have the referee like I don't know, like if the referee doesn't like Taskmaster jumps off the apron, Duggan's on the ground, but he's still not turning around. The referee stood, like you said, he was off.
Mm-hmm.
Something about the finish just didn't click, and it kind of hurt the match for me. But I liked it. I love Duggan. I love Kamala. I like seeing them in there was not a dream match, but a fun match to see.
Yeah. Onward
And upward.
and upward. Diamond Dallas Page, DDP.
Maybe not
Bang!
up. Never mind. Maybe not upward just yet
Yeah.
because those tights. Ooh, I'm happy they got rid of those tights.
For DDP.
Yeah,
I kind of
that
like them. The
that
vintage
sing.
green tights. They were
I feel like I love that DDP in the jeans. Like
yeah,
to
the
me that was
jeans and the
that. But I guess that is later DDP. This
mm-hmm.
is early gimmicks. So
Yeah.
I guess me beating up this is like beating up Hulk Hogan for wearing yellow instead of wearing the Hollywood trunks. But
Mm-hmm. I used to pick this DDP when I used to play WCW Revenge or whatever it was. They used to have him with these, or him with the jeans, or him with the black and the
right,
diamond with the pink outline. Old or not old, young DDP with the
yeah.
diamond doll.
Well, technically an old
Yeah,
DDP.
yeah, an old, yeah, with Max Muscle. Diamond Dallas Page transitioning himself into a wrestler. He was a manager with the Diamond Doll. Brought up the Diamond Stud. For those of you guys that don't know who the Diamond Stud is, hey, yo, it's the bad guy. It was Razor Ramon's first gimmick. Well, not first gimmick, but it was one of his original gimmicks. Well, the WCW gimmick where,
Yeah.
yeah, he had a big old, like a Magnum PI mustache. He would come out with a tejana, sombrero, or and then he would just come out like a cowboy, big old diamond stud.
It was a DDP had some like he was a fun manager. Like watching the his documentary that they put out a couple years back, I didn't realize like how long he was actually a manager or involved in like the backstage with a lot of these guys before he decided he wanted to actually give it a shot. Which I love that he did, because to me he's the best WCW performer. I was drawn into him at when I first started watching him, and I thought he was great. But going back,
sorry to
watching
interrupt real quick. Some of the most organic, biggest pops in WCW were by Diamond Dallas Page.
When he put the NWO shirt on,
yeah,
and then he takes it off and he hits the diamond cutter on Hall,
yeah,
and Nash is all celebrating. He turns around and he's like, "What?" Yeah, like those kind of pops were so great. And
when he won the United States Championship the first time, when he was in the crowd holding it up, the crowd's all fucking holding him. I think it was the crowd. When he won the WCW title, he got a huge pop there as well.
Yeah,
he was WCW's People's Champion. He was, to some levels, I would say not the Rock, but the People's Champion. When the Rock was saying he was the People's Champion, Diamond Dallas Page was the People's Champion.
And I think also the other thing for DDP that's really cool to think about is he might be the only person to actually wear both Wolfpack and NWO Hollywood shirts and never actually be a member of it. Because he put the NWO shirt on before, saying like, nah.
Yeah.
But then he also put on the Wolfpack shirt on before he just put it on, and then Macho Man comes out because he was in the Wolfpack at that time, and him and Paige had that rivalry. So when Paige went to go put on the Wolfpack shirt and join Nash and all those guys, Macho Man attacked him because Macho Man didn't want DDP into the Wolfpack.
Mm-hmm.
So he actually got to wear both NWO colors without ever actually joining into the NWO, which is pretty cool.
Oh man, I hope you have some Wolfpack ones. We should do a Wolfpack pay-per-view next. When the
Yeah,
Wolfpack
for sure.
around.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find something from that era in the late 90s.
Yeah.
But it's cool to see DDP look raw.
Mm-hmm.
Fighting
This was a quick match. I think it was intermission match. Hey, go take a piss real quick. Even though it was only 4 minutes.
And it was weird too because it was like DDP was getting beat pretty good by was it Dave Sullivan?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
he's
don't
getting
know what
beat.
gimmick he was playing here.
I think he was just he was just out there just beating up DDP, and then was it Max Muscle kind of gets in? Was it he gets on the apron or something? Something happens where he distracts him, and then DDP kind of like starts the match off fast, then gets worked over for about 3.5 minutes, and hits a diamond cutter, and it's over.
Yeah. I don't remember. I saw the finish twice, and I remember they did do something, but it didn't get stuck in my head.
Yeah, all I remember is that he was distracted and he gets hit with the diamond cutter, and that was the end of the match.
Yeah.
But
the next match after that was Harlem. It was a triple threat match for the WCW World Tag Team Championships. Harlem Heat, Booker T and Stevie Ray with Sister Sherry taking on the Nasty Boys, Brian Knobbs, Jerry Saggs, and the third team, the Blue Bloods, Steven Regal and Robert Eaton. Quick note: Steven Regal came to my school, Thomas Kelly High School, to speak one time. I was lucky enough to be in the auditorium. I think I was I don't know. I had lunch during the time, and they let us go into the auditorium to see wrestlers speak. We had Regal, Tatanka, and I forgot who the other two were. The other two weren't that big or that I knew of. Maybe they're older. But I knew Tatanka and Regal.
that's cool.
We thought we were going to get Rey Mysterio. We're like, we're Mexican. Rey Mysterio might come here. But no, we didn't get Mysterio. Because we had seen the poster, and then they called us into the auditorium. But that's why I liked Steven Regal, and I paid more attention from there on out. Later finding out that Steven Regal is a badass fucking wrestler and pretty tough. He might not look it, but I hear he's a pretty tough guy in the back.
I always liked him back from his brawling days with Fit Finlay, when Finlay was just coming back and they were using that Northern Ireland versus England angle, which was, to me, that's my family. So for me, I was like, oh, they're actually, like, I remember, like, this is also like years after it happened. So when I heard that they did a Northern Ireland versus England angle, I'm like, I have to watch this. And it was like Regal and Eaton taking on, Fit Finlay, and like a lot of different style of matches, and I loved it. Like, I would go back and watch those still, like, to this day. I think they're really good. Regal is such an underappreciated talent, and I think he's going to be one of those guys that gets into the Hall of Fame as and also as opposed to a main inductee, which is unfortunate. I just don't see how WWF would put him in as a talent, because he didn't really have like the most standout singles career that other guys have had. But
you have to put him in, dude. He does so much work right now at
he's huge with the NXT.
Yeah.
Even
though he's just commish, quote unquote.
Yeah.
I would almost guarantee that he's got a big hand in creative.
Oh, him and Finlay, like, with their training, like, those guys have put there are so many wrestlers when you see trained by Finlay, trained by Regal, like, there's a lot. Those two guys have done a lot for the sport that no one really realizes.
They know how to pace a match.
They do.
A lot of these guys are knowing they're learning how to fly and how to do all these big old power moves and how to brawl. These guys know how to put it all together. They know how to pace a match. They know how to throw in the submission. They know how to work the locks. Then they can slam you. They know when to throw in and how to throw in the moves, so they make sense.
Because
And
you could, like,
there's
otherwise you have the Hunter Hearst Helmsley Ultimate Warrior match from
yeah.
WrestleMania, like 30 seconds of one thing, 30 seconds of the other, and that's it. But like you said, like, yeah, it's all about pacing and timing and knowing your opponent and building the story, not the storyline, but building the story in the ring that night.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you
And
saw, and even as a tag team wrestler and as a tag team wrestler in a triple threat match, he was so good in that. He paced a lot of it.
yeah, this was probably my favorite match because of the talent in it. I hated the finish, which we'll get to, but the talent
You
in
want to bed?
the
Okay, love you. That's Raph. That's Raph.
hi.
That's what Raph looks like. Yeah, he's not green with a shell. Yes, Connor. And we're on hold.
It's all good.
You want to say hi to Raph? I know he has no.
Hello, hi Connor.
Connor, you wave hi? Want to wave hi? Okay. Okay. Okay, you gonna go see mommy now? You got it? Okay. Bye, buddy. Go put some pants on. Connor, now you're on camera naked.
No one's naked.
No, Connor's naked. He has no pants. He's wearing a shirt. You guys are on YouTube right now. Okay, Carly, you got your dress? Mommy's got.
Does YouTube take me down for naked babies?
Well, we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. I'm gonna get a strike. It's all good.
Yeah. Once again, the kids make their appearance.
Yeah.
Oh man. I did a lock.
It's all good. It's all good. Where were we, Ryan? Before we got interrupted by naked babies.
Naked babies. Triple threat and Regal.
Triple threat and Regal. Okay, yeah. I think I was saying this is one of my favorite matches because of the talent in it.
Mm-hmm.
We have Regal. I forgot his tag partner's name. The other guy, the part of the
Bobby Eaton.
Bobby
Robert Eaton, because he's the Royal now.
Also a good wrestler, but we also had Harlem Heat. Like I mentioned, Booker T and Stevie Ray. If you go back and you watch Booker T wrestle, you really appreciate how good he was. And I forgot where I was saying this. I don't know if I was saying this here, because I've been doing. They just went into the Hall of Fame, so it could have been with you, or it could have been a WCW one that I did with Jesus or with Jeff. But
Jeff,
yeah, you can see how good Booker T is and how well he not sold the moves, but performed the moves and executed them. The type of moves that he did. He didn't do the Harlem Hangover here, but it would have been awesome if he would have done that one. It looks very painful though.
Which was I'm not familiar with that one.
He's on the top rope and he does like a front flip and lands
like a
leg
drop. Okay.
And that was like his finisher. He stopped doing it. I think we all know
imagine.
why. It's pretty fucking.
That's gonna be hard on the back.
Yeah, and on the fucking tailbone, it's gonna be pretty.
Yeah, hard. That's how you get those compressed discs and that you hear Austin. And I think Austin has said he's lost 3 inches of his height from when he started his career, just from doing stunners, the Hogan compression on his spine.
I've heard.
Hogan with that leg drop.
Yeah.
I this was one of those matches where I love the corny ending of and you could see the buildup when he did the back body drop. I forget if it was Knobs or Sags, but they dropped Booker onto Regal. And then the other Nasty Boy jumps onto Booker, but you could see what was going to happen. He's sitting on Booker, but he's pinning Regal, so you obviously know that Booker's going to get the 3 count. And then Nasty Boys celebrate. They 1, 2, 3. They raise their hands up, and there's no music, and you're like, they're giving to the Harlem Heat, and the referee starts pointing, and. I thought that was a really cool finish, even though you knew it was going to happen. Yeah. I got excited to see how they were going to wrap it up, and it was perfect. It was what it was supposed to be.
I wish it was cleaner, but I guess I would like to see how their wins around this title while they were holding these titles, how they were, if they were clean, if not, if this was one of the ones where they're like, look, we've already done a clean one, we need something in there to to keep the titles on them and not make it look the same.
I think it was refreshing too because so many times in these triple threat tag teams or four corner tag team matches, it usually ends up being an all out brawl with all the teams on the outside of the ring, and then one guy gets a roll up or a quick finish, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So for me to see like they were cool, like, hey, well, I'm not going to interfere because my Booker's got the pin, so I'm not going to break it up. The Nasty Boy, he's not going to break up the pin because he thinks his guy got the pin, and Eaton's out cold on the outside, so like he's not doing anything. So to me, it was like a little bit of a refresher than what I've seen a lot lately. Like how we talk about WrestleMania hiding underneath the ring and getting in there and stealing the victory, that kind of stuff. Like,
yeah,
sometimes simple's good.
Yeah. Like I said, I thought this was a good match. A lot of good talent. Probably my favorite match.
I got to go back and watch some more early '90s Harlem Heat or mid '90s Harlem Heat.
If you want to see the Harlem Hangover, I think at Uncensored '97. Is that where I might have seen it? I think that's where I might have seen it.
I know. I remember that was one of the finishers I always used to use in Revenge.
Mm-hmm.
I always used to have him do that whenever I'd use Booker T. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I've ever actually seen him
do it.
I had to have seen it in some time in watching a match somewhere, but maybe like in singles competition in WCW or something when he was getting the push near the end. But I feel like I've seen him use it at some point.
Mm-hmm. Match after that. Well, the match after that we had the Macho Man, Randy Savage versus the Nature Boy Ric Flair in what they deemed a lifeguard match, which was a lumberjack match.
No, it's a lifeguard match.
It's a lifeguard match.
There was no trees, no lumberjacks.
All the wrestlers got tie-dye shirts and orange shorts. We had, we had all the guys that had wrestled previously in the night.
It was, that was weird. I noticed that it was only guys on the card that were on, it seems like they only had that roster with them. They didn't bring anyone else because most of the time we have a lumberjack match, it's anyone from the back. Like it could not necessarily on TV that night, but they're part of the company. So, hey, go out there. You're good or you're bad. Go do your thing. Mm-hmm. So it was weird that they only had like the main competitors that were on, the main talent on screen out there, but
except for Arn, they had Arn out there.
Oh, did they? I don't know if I.
Yeah, Arn.
Oh, I had. Yeah, because of Ric Flair. I had. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did you also notice? And they mentioned in the commentary that there was actual actresses from Baywatch because they used part of this match on an episode of Baywatch.
Yeah. I think they came out for Hogan and Vader.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. This is what when Hogan was doing, was it Thunder in Paradise and Baywatch and Hogan? They were like WCW was trying to intermingle entertainment to try and push themselves, and what's bigger than Baywatch? It's either Baywatch or Beverly Hills 90210. So you don't want Luke Perry taking a leg drop. So let's get some girls in bikinis out there walking around with flotation devices. It made no
Did you like this match?
It was okay.
I thought it could have been better.
I feel like I've seen if WrestleMania 7 and when Macho Man beats Flair for the title, and then the rematch when Flair wins the title back when Macho Man passes out. I think it's on a Macho Man DVD I have somewhere. He's in a figure 4 leg lock and he passes out from the pain, and Mr. Perfect and Riz Ramon come out to help Ric Flair get the title back. Those matches were so good. So I'm like, okay, now it's a couple years later, it's under a different banner, but I've seen these guys have some good matches together, and also the lumberjack gimmick.
I think that's what took me out of it.
That's what kind of those are. I get it because they're gonna be. You can't contain them in the ring, so if they roll out, nope, get back. I get it, but at the same time, it's Hogan, Macho Man, and Flair never were brawlers outside the ring like that. They weren't going to go into the audience and fight.
Yeah.
That wasn't
Flair
so.
poke you in the eye, he'll blow you, distract the
Yeah,
ref.
it's more stuff in the ring. So like that angle was a little. I get it, but
Yeah.
I don't.
Mm-hmm.
It was okay. I liked it. The clean finish, kind of. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting the traditional lumberjacks interfere when someone slips a chair or slips brass knuckles or slips something in and there's a whatever. But no, just
Especially having Arn out there, right? As a plant. He did interfere. He did hit Macho Man with, I think it was a DDT. Flair
yeah.
came in and didn't get the pin. Mach, a little bit after that, gets the upper hand, lands a double axe handle on this guy's back, then lands his patented elbow, gets the victory, and I think that was it. Did they attack Macho Man after?
No, from what I no, it was just it. Like yeah, he hit the thing. If you like some of the lumberjacks do the like, oh, I can't believe he won, like all upset, but that was about as far as it went. And yeah, then that yeah, it definitely I feel like take the lumberjacks away and maybe have Arn at ringside and have Macho Man to come over like overcome those odds would have been a little bit better. But I mean, they wanted to try. I feel like to use as much beach theme as they could. So lifeguards and like you said with Hogan, I'm gonna toss you to the sharks and all that kind of stuff. Like they wanted to make that gimmick. They wanted to like soak. They were not so they want to wring it dry of every ounce of liquid that they could. Like they wanted to make sure that it was Bash at the Beach. And I think that this was just one of those things of just too much of it. Like you just let those guys go out there and do their thing, it would have been fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, get rid of that lifeguard match. Too much of a gimmick. These guys could have put on something way better. This didn't need. This didn't need a outline. These guys could have done it themselves.
Yeah, and like, and one thing, like, I don't know the storylines going into this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if these guys had been battling for a few months and there was always interference, then I understand it. But to me, as a one-off match, as a casual fan at this point of that era WCW, to me it was just overkill. You had two great talent that don't need an extra gimmick. They didn't need the cage. They didn't need a ladder. They didn't need like those two guys could just gone out. Sometimes a gimmick can enhance a match, but in this case, it hurt the match. I found.
Yeah. Yeah. Randy Savage picks up the victory. And then in your main event, we have Hulk Hogan with Jimmy Hart taking on Big Von Vader in a steel cage match, which Hogan claimed was dug into the sand. That fucking liar.
Yeah.
That Weak Sauce says cage was pretty flimsy.
And that cage may have been the smallest cage I've ever seen. Like Hogan standing on the apron without climbing the ropes. If he put his hands up, he could have held onto the top of the cage. Like most cage matches, like you see the guys on the second, third turnbuckle, and they still can't reach the top of the cage. This one here, it's not to jump too far ahead, but at the end of the match, when Hogan climbs over, he's hanging on the top of the cage, and his feet are almost on the ground.
Yeah.
Like that was such a small cage. I'm like, what? Like I get you didn't want to obstruct view because you didn't have bleachers, like you pointed out earlier. So the cage already takes away from people being able to see the action clearly. Then taking into account that everyone's on even ground, that hurts visibility of the match too. But it just again another gimmick that I wasn't necessarily needed, especially when the interference didn't even happen.
Yeah.
Like so, I mean, Dennis Rodman could have grabbed that wooden chair.
Oh, we didn't mention that Rodman was intersected into this for no reason.
Yeah.
This was before he was part of the Bulls, so fuck him. All right.
No, 95.
Yeah. They mentioned he was part of the Spurs. He was 96, 97, 98.
Oh, he was in the last repeat.
Yeah. So
Okay.
this might have been. I was actually gonna look it up and I forgot to. And I'm like, I'll just ask Ryan. I'm like, how long was this before he joined the Bulls? I'm like, was this like the summer?
Because I know that I know he played for the Pistons and the Bulls,
Hmm.
and I knew he had like the 5 rings. But I thought he would have. But I guess it makes sense because Jordan would have been playing baseball at this time.
Yeah,
'Cause he
cause
was gone
yeah,
for a year and a half, and then when he came back for the second half of that of the well, when he came back for the second half of this second year, so 90 95.
yeah.
That would have been, I guess, yeah, so 95 96. So I guess he would have joined the Bulls that summer, like right after Bash at the Beach, he would have joined the
Hmm.
Bulls.
Yeah, yeah. Cause they mentioned him as a Spur, and I was like, okay, this is before he was a Bull.
Okay.
Cause I knew he was always fucking with the Bull. He was always fucking with us, man. He was with the Pistons,
Yeah, Pistons.
and then with the Spurs. He's always fucking with us, and that's when he started dyeing his hair a lot more.
Yeah, that's when he married Carmen Electra and became like the freak and all that. So I love Rodman. So
Yeah.
I say freak with like all due respect to the man.
Yeah, I got to see the big three incarnation of them. I got to see Rodman, Jordan, and Pippen.
That's cool.
Yeah, I was what so much younger when they were first winning. Yeah, yeah. So Rodman was there. I don't know if you caught the awkward face touching that Rodman did to Hogan in the promo that Hogan was cutting.
No, I missed it. I'll have to go back
Ryan,
and check it
go back
out.
and watch
I'll
it.
go back and
It was
watch
so
it.
weird. So Hogan says something. Well, he's saying like his whole speech, and he's like, and then fucking like Rodman reaches over across Mean Gene and like caresses
Just
Hogan's face, and Hogan like stops and he's like, "Calm down there, brother." And they all kind of look at Rodman, and then they continue on. I don't think that was supposed to happen.
there was a there's a lot of background, I guess, with Rodman going in. Again, to go to 83 weeks. Uh, if you listen to the Bash of the Beaches, or I think there could have even been a different one, but because Rodman was at so many of these pay-per-views, like Hog Wild and Spring Stampede, and he was at a bunch of them around this era. Um, but they talk about like how he was paid like $1 million over the course of like a bunch of like he had like a legitimate WCW contract for appearances for a while there. That I guess almost got him in trouble with the NBA because he had the existing contract. Now he's signing another contract, and there's a whole big thing behind it. But they like Hogan steps up and basically the Michael Jordan of WCW hammer like helps figure it all out. But I, again, I said it earlier. I don't like Hulk Hogan in WCW,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't like Dennis Rodman in the yellow and red. I love Hollywood Hogan
Yeah.
in WCW, and I love badass Dennis Rodman when he was with the NWO.
With
When
Big
he
Fred,
came out with
yeah.
the NWO, that was perfect. I loved that.
And I guess we should talk more about Vader. I've never been. Not that I'm not a fan of Vader. I like Vader. I like the gimmick. I just was never really exposed to him as much. He was WCW for a while.
Hmm.
When he came to WWF, Shawn Michaels buried him, and I wouldn't blame the WWF for going with that road, because Vader gained a lot of weight in the off season.
Yeah, he got really big from that transition era.
Yeah. And WWE just they couldn't trust it, so they went with who they could trust, and it was Michaels at the time.
And
And
and Vader, like he's so agile for Big Ben, like doing like moonsaults and that kind of stuff. Like
yeah,
he was a phenomenal competitor in the early '90s, mid '90s. But yeah, like when he went to WWF, he wasn't like I remember seeing him and like, oh yeah, I remember this guy from like watching this or watching that, but it wasn't the same.
uh-uh.
There was something different, and I didn't like him. I never liked him in WWF ever, and it took going back and watching a lot of old WCW and like maybe NWA or New Japan. I think he was big over in
Yeah,
overseas
yeah,
when he would come out with like that. I think
He had it here, that huge thing.
That huge, like that mastodon kind
Yeah,
of
they put it
thing.
on him at the Dungeon of Doom when he joined the Dungeon of Doom. They put it on
Oh,
him.
okay. 'Cause I know that was like a big thing in New Japan because
It
he
was
went over
so
to New
clunky.
he went over to New Japan and he was almost murdered because he beat their I don't not Muda. He beat one of their biggest names at the time in Japan for the title, and he was like they had to like escort him out of the ring like super carefully because like the Japanese take their wrestling so seriously
Hmm.
that they thought Vader was not going to make it back to America. Like he was like just like yeah, just destroys this guy, and yeah, and then like, he comes back to WCW, and you see like this like, and he was again like Hogan makes these like big guys always look good, like Andre, like Earthquake, Vader, Big Boss Man. When he fights a big guy, he can make them look so good. Um, but I don't know, this match, I don't feel like it really got to show Vader's uh, talent as well.
No, right off the bat, you have Hogan throwing him against the cage, and then you have him like stopping Hogan, in terms of um not letting him get his offense off or something like that. Like I didn't like the match, except Vader did get a couple of his moves off. He did miss with that big bomb off the top ropes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he went for his Vader bomb that he finishes off with.
Is that the second rope splash?
Yeah, his
He did.
finishing.
Yeah, he hits it, and then that was like right near the end. Hogan kicks out, and I was expecting the Hulk up,
Hmm.
but he didn't Hulk up. And then Vader kind of whatever got going, and that's when Hogan kind of comes back, and that was when
Was
Taskmaster and Zodiac came out.
was the end the bot's finish? They both climb towards one of the ends of the cage.
Yeah, and like Vader's like walking on the top rope, and
Vader
like
takes a spill pretty
and
bad.
he fell weird. Yeah, like it didn't look
Like
like.
halfway.
I
Yeah. It.
I thought he was supposed to be like fall, like like they'll like wishbone, like split on the ropes
Yeah.
and then like fall over, but he went between the cage really weird, and
Yeah.
it looked like he was having trouble rolling to get back into the ring, like he had like caught himself
He's
or
fat as shit,
something.
man.
But and yeah, like I said, like, I don't know, the cage didn't look big enough, and it didn't seem necessary because the only time that there was ever any risk of interference, these two professional wrestlers were afraid of a basketball player. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay.
Yeah. Even though he had a backwards chair, he didn't even know how to hold it.
Yeah, he told, and it was like a wooden chair. It wasn't even like the steel
Yeah.
ones. It was like
I
from back in the 40s.
I think they just didn't want Rodman to caress their face.
Yeah, that was yeah.
I think that's
We're
what it
out of
was.
here.
Yeah.
I gotta go back and check that out.
Dude, go back and watch it. I was like, what the fuck? I went back and I rewound it. That's how weird it was. I was like, what the fuck?
That's funny.
Why? Because even Hogan was like, calm down there, brother. Yeah, I think he got thrown out there too.
Robin's like, I want to get on camera.
Yeah. Yeah, but Hogan wins in that weird fashion because Vader falls into the cage in between the ropes very awkwardly, and it looks like he's struggling to get out. Hogan just climbs over and just jumps down. Like you said, it wasn't even that tall of a cage. He kind of just steps onto the steps from hanging onto the top, and then kind of just
Yeah.
jumps from the top of the 3 steps.
This kind of reminded me of like the bastard stepchild of WrestleMania 2 when it was Hogan and King Kong Bundy,
Yeah.
because that was such a great cage match, and I think that they were trying to recreate that, and it just didn't have the right elements.
Hmm.
Maybe in an arena with a taller cage, a sturdier cage could have looked a lot better, but it for the main event, I don't know, like I don't know, like it missed some elements for me.
Yeah. And then at the end, I think when they go off air, supposedly, Flair comes out and attacks Vader.
Yeah, Arn and him come out,
Yeah.
and then that sets up the their feud because he was supposed to get the title off of Hogan for Flair,
Mm.
kind of like Andre did from Million Dollar Man back in the day.
Flair takes a pretty bad spill out of the cage. I don't know if you noticed that.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, so Arn goes out, and then so does Flair, but I think Flair goes over the top, and he goes out fast, and I don't know. I think he goes out and he hits pretty hard. Check that out if you get a chance to. After you check out Rodman's weird face touch.
Yeah, I'll watch the promo and then watch the attacking part. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was it. That was the end of the card for WCW Bash at the Beach 1995. Despite the weird ending for the co-main event or the main event and the weird match, the lifeguard match, I still enjoyed those matches, and I'd definitely give this card a B plus. Just through nostalgia and the wrestling matches. They weren't even that great, but you still had some that were in there that were good.
You got good gimmicks. You got talent that if WCW being around for a few years, but still being relatively new, they definitely benefited from having like Macho Man and Hogan and Flair and Vader, like Sting. Like they had a lot of talented people that knew from other organizations, which definitely helped. And those guys did put on the matches that you figured they would.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an enjoyable and 2.5 hours, perfect.
Yeah.
Like don't like this kind of shows it shows you can do like a 2.5 to 3 hour show, and you can just get your story told, get in and get out.
Yep.
And I appreciated that, the fact that I didn't have to commit so long to watching it.
There's no Hulkamaniacs here.
Yeah, that we could have gotten rid of.
Yeah.
That we could have made that a 2 hour and 25-minute show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just get rid of that little segment.
Yeah. I want to thank you, Ryan, for helping me break down this Bash at the Beach, WCW 1995.
I love talking WCW all of a sudden, getting away from WWF. Like I said to Kara, like I'm kind of nervous because I don't really know, like I don't know this era that well. Like I don't want to like screw this up. I'm trying to watch it. I'm trying to like take notice of some things and gimmicks, stories, and anything like that, just to try to like not even refresh my brain, but just learn something new about what was happening back then. So it was fun.
I want to do some Wolfpack next. I don't know if you're down. We'll see.
Oh, 100%.
We'll see what we do next time. We need to see what you have.
I'll see what I have around that era, and then I'll let you know. We'll figure something out and we'll go from there. That sounds like a great idea, though.
I want to thank Canada in terms of downloads. Number 2 for Full Heel Podcast in terms of downloads. Country-wise, it's United States, Canada, France, Spain, United Kingdom, top 5. And for Canada, since you're on Ryan, flying Brian Pillman, British Columbia is ahead of Ontario.
Wow, you got BC listeners.
Yeah, it might be my cousin. He's from he lives in Vancouver now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you see a lot of things too, like with my iPod, like it just like refreshes things.
Mm-hmm.
So like I don't always it's a bad habit. I don't always hit the download button because I like with the Wi-Fi I can just listen to it wherever I'm at in the house. But I know that it affects the download numbers and that kind of stuff. But it's a habit and just start getting into hitting a little cloud with the arrow there, and
you're not that far back. I'm not gonna give exact numbers, but you're not that far back.
You know what? Your cousin's paying out the ass for to drive his car right now, so I'll let him have. Oh, their gas is like almost $2 a liter, which is about $8. That's 4 liters is a gallon, so you're looking at $8 a gallon.
What?
Yeah, that's for the good stuff. It's like 185 for the generic stuff. So yeah.
When I first started driving, it was at $5. Or it was at $3, and then it went up to $5 quickly. That's when Bush was,
right?
Yeah, around that time, and it's gradually gone down over the years, and people don't really talk about it that much anymore. But it's like it floats around at $3 right now, which isn't bad. It's not that bad. Which would be what? I don't know how to break it down in liters.
Divide by 4. So if you say like $3.20, it would be 80 cents a liter.
Okay, which is like half of what you guys do.
Very nice. It would be. We're about almost $5 a gallon in Ontario. because our jackass of a prime minister has put in a new carbon tax, so you're paying extras at the pumps now.
Yeah, we gotta do something about the environment.
Yeah, like what? Like destroy it more, or just keep it safe?
Yeah.
Because I mean, if it saves me money,
I drive a Versa that wastes the least. It saves gas. No,
hey,
it's the
hey,
least gas guzzling car. It's the
or-
it's the smallest model that Nissan has. And people tell me like, why don't you get like a badass fucking car? And I'm like, look, this has the best gas mileage, dude.
that's all that matters.
Yeah, like I get everywhere, anywhere, and I don't have to pay that much for gas. And I guess I'm helping the environment.
Every little bit.
Yeah, somehow. Guess I could just not drive. But yeah,
Yeah.
shout outs to Canada, number 2 for the downloads.
Mexico, man, step your game up.
Yeah, Mexico, come on. What the hell's going on? You got a lot of no love for Mexico, like almost zero. Because it's not in Spanish. I get it, but come on. I've had some Canelo podcasts where I talk about Canelo and I talk about learn how to fucking speak English. You're right next to us. We're neighbors. I speak Spanish. Those cabrones. Damn, dude. India's above them. Brazil.
Man, you got worldwide, eh?
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. Not a ton like downloads, but you get some.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button on YouTube, Podbean, iTunes. Final thoughts, Ryan, before we get out of here?
Yeah, just a quick one actually. Saturday, 420. Happy belated anniversary. No,
That's the last podcast. I was super fucking high.
it was 20 years ago we lost Rick Rude, and it's just mind blowing to me because I still remember hearing about it. But in honor of that sad event, I feel like everyone should just go back and watch some really good classic Rick Rude matches from back in the 80s and the early 90s when he was at his prime, like taking on the Ultimate Warrior, taking on Hogan in some of his matches. Like anything, go back and just look him up, find him. Jake the Snake. He had so many great feuds. Go back, find them, watch them, enjoy them. Like
He was a great heel.
he was one of the best, and I'm happy that Robert Roode is kind of taking that on now in a small way with his gimmick kind of
People are like,
turning
what's
to
the name change? Like,
yeah.
Bobby isn't. That's a face name. You need a heel name.
Yeah,
Robert works.
and
Robert
also
Roode.
and I don't know, Bobby. Bobby's good up until like you're like 21, 22. Then you gotta go to Bob or Robert. Like
Yeah, what is this, Bobby's World?
yeah, seriously.
Which I hear we're getting like a reboot, aren't we?
I hope so. I love that cartoon.
I think they're doing another one where maybe
That'd be
Bobby's the
awesome.
adult and he has kids. I don't know.
I'm down for it.
Maybe I was high and I dreamt that. Who knows?
I hope you're not lying to me.
But yeah, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I don't know what side it's on. If you just want the audio, you can find all the audio on either iTunes, Podbean, Podcast Republic.
And give the band 5 stars.
Yeah, go ahead and give me a 5-star review. Nothing less, nothing more, because you can't do more, or else you should. Leave me a good review, please. It really helps out the show. I don't know, something about the iTunes algorithm. The more stars you have, the better rating you have, the more downloads you have. All that stuff helps you be thrown into the mix. If you guys help me grow the show, I can start a fucking network and help my friends have jobs, and then we can quit our jobs and be fucking awesome.
And then you can get a Joe Rogan style studio one day.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind having a little mini gym and then a studio, which would be fucking sick. That would be fucking sick. So yeah, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Download every single episode, not just this one. Thanks a lot, Ryan. Can't thank you enough.
Thanks for having me on again. Can't wait to do our next one.
Yeah, for sure. The Wolfpack, brother.
Yeah, we'll find something good.
Yeah. I guess I will see you guys. I'm trying to get a fight companion for Saturday. with these guys. I'm trying to see who's available. I might have Toucan over. I don't know if Johnny's going to be able to come. There's some good names. There's not a ton of good, like, high-level names. But we'll see. We'll see what's up. Check me out on Average Joe's if you guys haven't already. Yeah, go ahead and check me out over there. Ryan frequents over there sometimes too, helps us out. He's the one that was co-hosting before I was, so you can catch him.
I gotta get back on there. Like I said to Jeff a couple weeks back there, there's a lot of fun cards coming up in the next couple of months. I should try and work some stuff out with Jeff.
Awesome. All right, I'll see you guys next time on the Full Heel Podcast.